Even horror movies can't be that brutal. Unbelievable case of Doreen Erbert. Have you ever pondered whether the most horrific sequences from your favorite horror movies could compete with the lowest points of human cruelty? Get ready for a tale that will make you wonder about the limits of human depravity. It is that awful. Imagine going to an event that seems innocent on the surface, only to discover that you are imprisoned in an unfathomable nightmare. What horrible things was Doreen Erbert about to face on that fateful day, and how did she find the strength to face her tormentors? Come along with us as we venture into the depths of darkness, where the real world turns out to be far scarier than anything that Hollywood could ever imagine. Who were these deranged people who had been torturing her, and what had made them do things so heinous it was beyond comprehension? In a world where horror films frequently push the limits of terror, there is a fascination with the macabre, with spectators willingly submitting themselves to fabricated nightmares for the rush of adrenaline and anxiety. Despite the prepared scares and created horrors, a sobering truth emerges. Reality can frequently outperform even the most twisted fantasies. Enter the terrible story of Doreen Erbert, a young lady whose life became a terrifying drama that defied logic. At first look, Doreen appeared to be just like any other person, full of dreams and ambitions, handling life's challenges with hopeful tenacity. However, her route took a sinister turn one fateful day in June, sending her straight into the heart of evil. The events that occurred during a seemingly routine meeting would turn her life into a nightmare beyond description. As we dive deeper into Doreen's narrative, we are confronted with unsettling truths about the human soul's capacity for cruelty. These issues serve as the starting point for a story that challenges our ideas of horror, blurring the lines between fiction and reality in terrifying and unforgettable ways. Doreen Erbert, the victim. Doreen Erbert was a young woman whose life was brutally cut short by horrific savagery. Her name will live on in the annals of sorrow. Doreen was raised in a simple suburban upbringing and was not prepared for the atrocities that would befall her. She had dreams as big as the night sky and was described by friends and family as kind-hearted and vibrant. But in spite of her goals and her friendly demeanor, Doreen would fall victim to a nightmare that would follow her till her last days. Doreen was a victim of circumstances, and the evil forces plotting against her were greater than her innocence and optimism. Her transformation from a typical young lady with aspirations to a tragic figure going through unspeakable pain serves as a sobering reminder of the frailty of life and the brutality of human nature. Doreen's life story weaves together more than just a victim story. She is a testament to perseverance in the face of unfathomable hardship. Even though Doreen Erbert's life was tragically short, her memory lives on as a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. She acts as a reminder that, despite everything, there can be hope because of the bravery and resiliency of individuals who choose not to let their pain define them. Doreen Erbert transcends her tragedy and death, inspiring and illuminating everyone who has the audacity to hope for a brighter tomorrow. The Fateful Gathering. The story of the fateful meeting that would permanently change Doreen Erbert's life path gives the tragic tale a chilling new twist. It started out innocently enough, with a straightforward invitation to what looked like a typical get-together among friends. Doreen had no idea how soon this seemingly innocent incident would turn into an unfathomable horror. The mood seemed friendly as she entered the room, full of laughter and cheerful conversation. However, there was a sinister undercurrent and a disconcerting sense that nothing was as it seemed beneath the outward display of good cheer. It was a slight change, hardly noticeable, but significant enough to plant doubts in Doreen's thoughts. The gathering was under an unsettling veil as the evening wore on, and the atmosphere grew gloomier, and the shadows appeared to linger longer. What had started out as fun banter quickly turned into something much worse. Amidst the visitors, there were whispers and looks that suggested ulterior motives and malicious intent. Doreen realized too late that she was caught in a web of lies and manipulation because the trap had already been laid. Her surroundings had once been kind, but now they wore masks of evil, their true intents hidden behind phony promises and fake smiles. Doreen was alone and defenseless in the middle of this group, a lamb amid wolves. Her instincts begged her to run, to get out of the way of the people who wanted to hurt her. But since she was confined to the area of the assembly, she had nowhere to flee and nowhere to hide from the approaching night. This exposed moment marked the beginning of the real horror that was Doreen's suffering. It is incomprehensible what happened to her within that meeting, when people she had thought of as friends subjected her to horrible violence. There would be no turning back from Doreen's plunge into the abyss, which would begin with the fatal gathering. Her lifelong nightmare was this night, which would come to represent the depths of human depravity and the frailty of innocence in the face of evil. Descent into darkness. Doreen Erbert found herself sucked into a hellish world from which there appeared to be no way out as the apparently harmless gathering turned into a terrifying nightmare. What had started off as a friendly get-together between acquaintances soon turned into a terrifying demonstration of deceit and manipulation. Doreen felt more and more uneasy as time went on, a foreboding sense that something evil was hiding beneath the surface. It was a sluggish, unstoppable plunge into darkness, akin to the creeping approach of dusk. It started out subtly, with a muttered remark here and a lingering glance there, but before long, the full character of the gathering came to light in all its hideous misery. Doreen turned to see people all around her, faces twisted with hate, motives as twisted as the abyss below. The pretense of civility began to wear thin as the evening went on, exposing the unpleasant reality that was underneath. Doreen unintentionally became the object of a wicked game, played and manipulated by individuals who wanted to cause agony for their own sick amusement. The darkness grew more and more engulfing and depressing as time went on. Her calls for assistance were drowned out by her tormentors' laughter, making her feel as though she were drowning in a sea of malevolence. It was a journey into the depths of human depravity and a plunge into madness from which there didn't seem to be a way out. Nevertheless, in the midst of the gloom, there was a glimmer of hope that would not go out. Doreen was crushed and bruised, but she held on to a glimmer of hope and a will to live in spite of everything. She mustered the will to persevere in the face of unspeakable evil, refusing to give in to the darkness that would have otherwise consumed her. Though the plunge into darkness would cause wounds that would never completely heal, it would also demonstrate how strong the human spirit can be. Although Doreen Erbert's descent into the abyss was a terrifying experience, it also served as evidence of her bravery and her refusal to let the atrocities she had experienced define her. Unimaginable horrors. The atrocities that were committed on Doreen Erbert at that terrible party were unspeakable, beyond the darkest fantasies of horror literature. Doreen was exposed to horrible acts of brutality and cruelty as the night became darker, violence and depravity that no human being should ever have to witness. Gradually, the scene descended into horror, with the air heavy with overtones of manipulation and malice. However, as the night went on, it became painfully obvious just how big the nightmare really was. Doreen endured a torrent of psychological and physical abuse, with those who wanted to shatter her spirit mercilessly taking advantage of her naivety and weakness. The horrors Doreen endured are too graphic to describe in detail, but let's just say that they are beyond comprehension. She endured unspeakable acts of abuse, and the horrors she endured left scars on both her body and spirit. Doreen became nothing more than a plaything for her torturers in the shadow of that gathering, a pawn in their perverse game of control and power. She was made into nothing more than an item to be used and thrown away at their whim, devoid of her humanity and dignity. The atrocities done to Doreen Erbert are a horrifying reminder of the lengths some people would go to in order to indulge their wickedness. They serve as a sobering reminder that there is frequently a very thin line separating good and evil, and a stark testament to the cruelty that exists inside the human psyche. However, there is a glimmer of light, a resilient spark that won't go out, in the midst of the darkness. Doreen was a light of hope in a world of darkness, but she also came out of the abyss with her soul intact, despite the unspeakable things she had to experience. Her tale is a monument to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that there is always hope for redemption, even in the face of unimaginable cruelty. Let the horrific truth of Doreen Erbert's unspeakable atrocities serve as a wake-up call for justice and resiliency rather than just being a story of despair. A monument to the tenacious nature of the human spirit, Doreen discovered a spark of courage in the depths of her agony that would not go out. May her memory act as a ray of hope, illuminating our path through the dark and motivating us to resist the forces of evil. Ultimately, our attitude to the atrocities we encounter defines who we are, not the horrors themselves. In order to pay tribute to Doreen's memory, let us work toward a day when such horrors are only in the past and everyone can clearly see the compassion and justice that exist in the world. Subscribe now for exclusive access to riveting tales like Doreen Erbert's, where reality's darkest truths defy imagination. Join us as we explore the depths of resilience and courage. Subscribe today for a journey into the unknown.